I didn't own red lipstick until the night before. My roommate Claire had pressed the slim gold tube into my palm at midnight, eyes bright with wine and mischief. "You start at Lucerno Holdings tomorrow. Do you know what kind of men work there?" I didn't. I knew only that the pay was extraordinary for an executive assistant position, that the building stood like a glass blade in the financial district, and that I needed the job desperately enough not to ask too many questions. "Wear this," Claire had said. "Trust me, you'll want armor." I didn't understand what she meant until I stood in front of my bathroom mirror that morning, the crimson stain transforming my mouth into something bolder than I'd ever been. I looked like someone who made decisions. Someone who didn't shake when her student loan statements arrived. The woman in the mirror was a stranger. I kept the lipstick on anyway. Lucerno Holdings occupied floors 30 through 42 of the Apex Tower. The elevator was glass and chrome. Rising so fast my stomach dropped. I clutched my leather portfolio, a graduation gift from my parents, and tried to remember how to breathe. The receptionist on the 40th floor barely glanced at me. "You're the new assistant. They're expecting you in the executive conference room. 9th door on the left." They, not he, not Mr. Lucerno. I walked down a hallway that smelled like expensive cologne and old money. The walls were the color of smoke. Every door was closed. I couldn't hear anything beyond my own heartbeat and the click of my heels against marble. The conference room door was already open. I stepped inside to find 12 men in tailored suits seated around a table that could have doubled as a landing strip. Smoke curled from ashtrays despite the no-smoking laws. No one looked up when I entered. No one except him. He sat at the head of the table, perfectly still in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my entire year's rent. Dark hair swept back from a face too severe to be merely handsome, sharp jaw, straight nose, mouth that looked like it had forgotten how to smile years ago. But it was his eyes that stopped me. Gray, cold, absolutely fixed on my face. He didn't blink, didn't move, just stared. I felt it like a physical touch, his gaze dropping from my eyes to my mouth and staying there. The air changed, thickened. Someone was speaking about quarterly reports. But the words turned to static. I counted in my head without meaning to. 1, 2, 3. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. 4, 5, 6. Someone called his name. "Boss?" 7, 8, 9. He leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled beneath his chin, still watching my mouth like it was a puzzle he needed to solve. 10. Then he stood. The room went silent. "We're done here." His voice was quiet, controlled, the kind of quiet that made you listen harder. "Cancel my appointments for the rest of the day." A man to his left, silver-haired, sharp-eyed, frowned. "All of them? You have the Corsini meeting at 3. "All of them, Marcus." The silver-haired man's gaze flicked to me, then back. Something passed between them that I couldn't read. He nodded once. The Mafia boss, because that's what he was. I understood now with perfect, terrible clarity, walked toward me. He moved like violence under glass, every step measured. He stopped close enough that I could see the thin scar cutting through his left eyebrow. "What's your name?" he asked. My throat was dry. Elena Rossi." "You wore that for your first day, Elena Rossi?" I didn't know how to answer. Didn't know if it was a question or an accusation. I thought." "You thought what?" He tilted his head slightly. "That you could walk into my building looking like that and I'd just let you file papers?" Heat flooded my face. Shame and confusion tangled together. "I didn't mean..." "Take it off." My heart stopped. "What?" "The lipstick." His eyes hadn't left my mouth. "Take it off. Now." My hands shook as I reached for my bag, fumbling for a tissue I wasn't sure I had. This was it. I'd be fired before I'd even started. I'd lose the apartment, disappoint my parents, prove every doubt I'd ever had about myself right. I found a crumpled Kleenex and raised it to my lips. His hand caught my wrist. The contact was electric. His fingers were warm, grip firm but not painful. He held me there, frozen, while something dangerous flickered behind his eyes. "Not here," he said quietly. "In my office." Then he released me and walked out. The remaining men began gathering their papers in silence. No one looked at me directly, but I felt their awareness like heat lamps. Marcus, the silver-haired man, paused beside me. His office is the last door at the end of the hall, he said, voice neutral. I'd suggest not keeping him waiting. I wanted to run, wanted to flee down the glass elevator and never come back. Instead, I walked. His office was enormous, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, dark wood furniture, shelves lined with books in Italian and English. He stood with his back to me, phone pressed to his ear, speaking in rapid Italian I couldn't follow. I caught only one phrase. È pericoloso. It's dangerous. He ended the call and turned. Close the door. I did. Sit. There was a leather chair across from his desk. I sat. He didn't. He stood there studying me like I was evidence in a trial. How old are you? 24. Why do you need this job? Everyone needs a job. His mouth almost curved. Almost. That's not what I asked. I met his eyes even though it felt like staring into an eclipse. I have debt. I have rent. I have parents who worked 2 jobs each to put me through college. I need this job because I can't fail them. Silence stretched between us. Do you know who I am? He asked finally. I'm starting to. And you're still here. It wasn't a question, but I answered anyway. I'm still here. He moved then, circling his desk until he stood in front of me. Close. Too close. I could smell cedar and something darker, gunpowder. Maybe, or just danger condensed into cologne. My name is Dante Lucerno, he said. And you just became the most dangerous person in this building. I didn't understand. How? He crouched down until we were eye level, and I saw something raw flicker beneath the control, something almost like regret. Because I looked at you for 10 seconds, Elena Rossi. And everyone in that room noticed. Then he stood and walked back to the windows, hands in his pockets, shoulders tight. You start tomorrow. Not today. Go home. Lose the red lipstick. And understand that you just painted a target on yourself without even knowing it. I don't understand. You will. I left his office on shaking legs and didn't breathe properly until I was back on the street. That night, I threw the lipstick away, but I couldn't stop seeing his eyes. I arrived the next morning in nude lipstick and a panic attack. The receptionist directed me to a smaller office 3 doors down from Dante's. It had a desk, a computer, and a stack of files that reached my elbow. A note in harsh, angular handwriting sat on top. Review these. I'll call for you when I'm ready. No signature. No greeting. I sat down and opened the first file. 20 minutes later, I understood why Claire had called this place dangerous. The documents were legitimate on the surface: acquisition reports, property transfers, investment portfolios. But the names woven through them read like a history of organized crime in the city. Corsini, Maletta, De Luca, families that made headlines when their members died violently. And Lucerno Holdings sat in the center of it all, a financial web connecting every thread. I should have walked out. Instead, I kept reading. The intercom on my desk buzzed at 11 sharp. My office. Dante's voice. Flat. Commanding. I found him standing at his windows again. Same position as yesterday. I wondered if he slept there, keeping watch over his city. You read the files, he said without turning. Yes. Questions? Hundreds. Now he turned. He'd removed his suit jacket, and his white shirt was rolled to his elbows, revealing forearms roped with muscle and ink. I caught a glimpse of black text in Italian before forcing my eyes back to his face. Ask one, he said. Why did you hire me? That's the one you choose? Yes. He studied me for a long moment, then moved to his desk and pulled a folder from a locked drawer. He slid it across to me. Open it. Inside was my resume, my university transcripts, and beneath them photographs. Me leaving my apartment. Me at the coffee shop on the corner. Me at graduation. Smiling between my parents. My blood turned cold. You had me followed? Vetted, he corrected. Everyone who works for me is vetted. You're clean, Elena. No connections to rival families. No debts to dangerous people. No boyfriend who might become a problem. His eyes held mine. You're nobody. The word should have stung. Instead, it sounded almost protective. That's why I'm safe to hire? I asked. That's why you were safe. Past tense. He closed the folder. The moment I looked at you in that conference room, you stopped being invisible. My enemies will notice. They'll wonder why. They'll look for leverage. Then why not fire me? Because that would confirm you matter. My head spun trying to follow the logic. So what do? You work. You keep your head down. You don't ask questions in front of others. You don't wear red lipstick. He paused. And you follow my rules exactly. What rules? He pulled a paper from his desk drawer, typed, detailed, unsettling. Employment terms E. Rossi. 1. Your workday begins at 8 a.m. and ends when dismissed no earlier. 2. You do not leave this floor without informing Marcus or myself. 3. You do not socialize with other employees beyond professional necessity. 4. You do not discuss your work with anyone outside this office. 5. If approached by someone you don't recognize, you walk away and report it immediately. 6. Your transportation to and from work will be provided starting tomorrow. 7. You will answer your phone when I call, always. I stared at the list. This sounds like a prison. It's a precaution. Against what? His jaw tightened. Against me making you a target by staring too long. The admission hung between us, raw and electric. I didn't ask you to look at me, I said quietly. I know. Something almost like pain crossed his face. That's the problem. He turned back to the window, dismissing me. I left before my hands could start shaking again. The next week passed in a strange, suspended reality. I arrived each morning to find a black car waiting outside my apartment, driver silent, windows tinted. I worked through Dante's files, learning the architecture of his empire. I ate lunch alone in my office. I went home in the same black car and dreamed of gray eyes that tracked me even in sleep. Dante himself was a ghost. He'd call me into his office 3-4 times a day, but never for long. He'd ask about a file, a meeting, a name. His questions were sharp and specific. He never made small talk, never smiled, but he watched me. I felt it constantly, that same intensity from the first day, carefully controlled now but always present. When I handed him documents, his fingers would brush mine for half a second too long. When I spoke, his eyes would drop to my mouth before he caught himself. He never touched me. But God, I felt it anyway. On Friday evening, Marcus appeared in my doorway as I was packing my bag. The boss wants to see you before you leave, he said. I found Dante in his office, tie loosened, exhaustion carved into the lines around his eyes. Sit, he said. I sat. You've done well this week, he said. No mistakes, no questions to the wrong people. Thank you. But you're scared. It wasn't a question, but I answered. Yes. Of me? I considered lying, decided against it. Of what you represent, which is danger, control, a life I don't understand. He leaned back in his chair, fingers drumming once against the armrest. You should quit. My stomach dropped. Are you firing me? No, I'm giving you an out. His voice was quiet, almost gentle. Walk away now, Elena. While you're still just a face I looked at too long. Before you become something more. More, I whispered. Someone I can't stop thinking about. The confession landed like a gunshot in the quiet office. I should have stood up. Should have walked out. Instead, I asked, is that what I am? His eyes locked onto mine, and for the first time, I saw past the control to the hunger beneath. Every goddamn hour, he said roughly. I canceled 8 meetings yesterday because I couldn't focus after you walked past my door. I've reread the same contract 20 times because your perfume is still in this office. I know I shouldn't, Christ. I know exactly how dangerous this is, but I can't stop. My heart hammered against my ribs. What do you want me to do? Leave. He stood abruptly, turning to the window. Before I do something we'll both regret. I stood too, bag clutched against my chest like armor, but I didn't leave. What if I don't want to? The words escaped before I could stop them. He went perfectly still. Elena, what if I'm already in danger anyway? I continued, voice shaking. What if leaving doesn't actually make me safer? He turned slowly, and the look on his face was pure conflict, desire, and restraint warring behind his eyes. Then you'd be making the most dangerous decision of your life, he said quietly. Maybe I already did, I whispered, when I wore red lipstick. For 10 seconds, he just stared at me. Then his intercom buzzed, shattering the moment. Boss. Marcus's voice was urgent. We have a situation. The Corsini contract, there's been a breach. Dante's expression shuddered instantly. The vulnerable man vanishing beneath the Mafia boss. Go home, Elena, he said, voice hard. The car is waiting. This time, I went. But I felt his eyes on me all the way to the elevator. The breach turned into a crisis that swallowed the entire weekend. I knew because Dante called me Saturday morning at 6 a.m. I need you at the office, he said without preamble. Now, the black car was already outside. I arrived to find the 40th floor transformed. Men in dark suits occupied every corner, voices low and tense. The air tasted like cigarette smoke and adrenaline. Marcus intercepted me outside Dante's office. He's been up for 36 hours. Don't take anything he says personally. What happened? The Corsini family thinks we stole from them. They're wrong, but that doesn't matter. Perception is reality in this world. He handed me a thick folder. He needs these contracts reviewed and summarized. Fast. I worked for 6 straight hours, cross-referencing dates and signatures, until my eyes blurred. Around noon, Dante emerged from his office, sleeves rolled up, hair disheveled for the first time since I'd met him. He looked almost human. Almost. Status? He asked Marcus. Handled. Giovanni's agreed to a sit-down tomorrow night. Where? The Bellamy. Dante's jaw tightened. Public? Very. That's the point. Their eyes met in some unspoken conversation. Finally, Dante nodded. That's when he noticed me watching. Our eyes locked across the room, and something shifted in his expression, the ruthless strategist softening into something almost tender. He crossed to my desk. You should go home. I'm not finished. Elena, I'm not fragile, I said quietly. Stop treating me like I am. A muscle ticked in his jaw. Then, unexpectedly, he reached out and tucked a loose strand of hair behind my ear. The gesture was so gentle, so at odds with everything else about him, that I forgot to breathe. You're the least fragile person here, he said softly. That's what terrifies me. Then he walked away before I could respond. That night, alone in my apartment, I couldn't stop thinking about the touch, how his fingers had lingered, how his hand had trembled slightly before he'd pulled away, how I'd wanted him to do it again. I was in dangerous territory, the kind Claire had warned me about without using words, falling for a man who lived in shadows and violence, a man who could hurt me in ways I couldn't even imagine yet. But when my phone rang at midnight, I answered on the first ring. Did I wake you? Dante's voice was rough with exhaustion. No. Silence stretched between us, heavy with things neither of us could say. I shouldn't have touched you today, he said finally. Why did you? Because I'm not as controlled as I pretend to be. My heart hammered. Dante, I want you to stop calling me that. I blinked in confusion. What should I call you? Nothing, sir, boss, anything but my name in that voice. What voice? The one that makes me forget every reason this is a bad idea. I closed my eyes, phone pressed tight against my ear. Maybe it doesn't have to be. It does, Elena. He sounded pained. You don't understand what being close to me means. The violence, the constant threats, the knowledge that one wrong move could... He cut himself off. You deserve better. You don't get to decide what I deserve. Yes, he said quietly. I do, because I'm the one who'll destroy you if this continues. He hung up before I could argue. I lay awake until dawn, tangled in sheets and confusion. Monday morning brought strange new additions to my office. A small jade elephant sat on my desk, emerald green and intricately carved. No note, no explanation. I carried it to Dante's office, where I found him on the phone, speaking in clipped Italian. He gestured for me to wait. When he hung up, I held up the elephant. What is this? A gift. Why? In Chinese culture, elephants symbolize strength and wisdom. Protection. His eyes held mine. I thought you might need a reminder. Of what? That some things are worth protecting, even when they refuse to be protected. I turned the elephant over in my hands, feeling the weight of it. Is this about the Corsini meeting? It's about everything. He stood and moved to the window, his constant refuge. The meeting is tomorrow night. High profile. Dangerous. I need you there. My stomach dropped. Why? Because Giovanni Corsini knows I canceled meetings after looking at someone. He'll want to see who. Dante's reflection in the glass looked haunted. If you're not there, he'll think I'm hiding you, that you matter more than you do. It'll make you a bigger target. And if I am there, he'll see you're just my assistant, capable, professional, boring. The word stung more than it should have. Can you do that? He asked quietly. Can you stand next to me tomorrow night and pretend you feel nothing? I should have said yes immediately. Instead, I asked, is that what you'll be doing? Pretending? He turned, and the look on his face was answer enough. Wear black, he said hoarsely. And for God's sake, Elena, no red lipstick. I spent Tuesday preparing like a soldier before battle. Black dress elegant but severe. Hair pulled back. Makeup minimal. I looked in the mirror and saw exactly what Dante needed. A competent professional. Forgettable. The reflection made me sad in ways I couldn't explain. The car arrived at 7. Marcus sat in front, and when I slid into the back seat, Dante was already there. He looked devastating in a midnight blue suit. Hair swept back, expression unreadable. His eyes traveled over me once, clinical and assessing. Perfect. The word felt like failure. We drove in silence through the city to the Bellamy, an old hotel turned exclusive restaurant where politicians and criminals broke bread under chandeliers. As we pulled up, Dante's hand found mine in the darkness of the back seat. Stay close to me, he murmured. Don't speak unless spoken to. Don't react to anything you hear. His grip tightened. And Elena, no matter what happens in there, trust that I won't let anything happen to you. Then he released my hand and exited the car. I followed him into the lion's den, my jade elephant tucked secretly in my purse, a small reminder that some things were worth protecting, even me. The Bellamy's private dining room looked like a Renaissance painting, come to life, vaulted ceilings, crimson wallpaper, a table set with more silverware than I knew how to use, and at the head of that table sat Giovanni Corsini. He was older than I'd expected, maybe 60, with silver hair and eyes like black ice. Power radiated from him the way heat rises from asphalt. 4 men flanked him, all wearing identical expressions of controlled hostility. Dante's hand rested briefly on the small of my back as we entered, a gesture that looked possessive but felt protective. Giovanni, Dante said, voice smooth. Thank you for meeting. Dante. Giovanni's gaze slid to me, lingering too long. And you brought company. How unexpected. My assistant, Elena Rossi. She's here to take notes. I nodded politely and took a seat 2 chairs down from Dante, pulling out a leather portfolio. My hands didn't shake. I was proud of that. Giovanni smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Assistant, of course. He leaned back in his chair. Tell me, Miss Rossi, how long have you worked for Mr. Lucerno? 2 weeks, I said quietly. 2 weeks. He repeated it like the words were amusing, and already accompanying him to delicate negotiations. You must be very competent. The insinuation hung in the air like smoke. Dante's voice cut through it, cold as a blade. Elena graduated top of her class at Fordham. Her discretion and intelligence are exactly what I needed. Now shall we discuss why you accused me of theft? Or would you prefer to continue insulting my hiring practices? The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Giovanni's smile widened. Direct as always. I appreciate that. He gestured to one of his men, who slid a folder across the table. $3 million disappeared from our joint construction account last Tuesday, the same day you had access to the transfer codes. Dante didn't even glance at the folder. I didn't touch your money, Giovanni, but someone wants you to think I did. Convenient claim. It's the truth. Dante's calm never wavered. Ask yourself who benefits from us going to war. Not me, not you, but the DeLuca family. They've been waiting for an opening like this for years. Giovanni's expression flickered the first crack in his composure. You're suggesting Angelo DeLuca framed you? I'm suggesting someone did. And Angelo has the most to gain from watching us destroy each other. The room fell silent as Giovanni considered this. His eyes drifted back to me, assessing. You're very quiet, Miss Rossi, he said. What do you think? My pulse spiked. I think I'm not qualified to have an opinion, Mr. Corsini. Modest. How refreshing. He turned to Dante. She's lovely, you know. Those eyes. That mouth. I can see why you stared. Dante's hand curled into a fist on the table. Careful, Giovanni. I'm simply observing. Giovanni sipped his wine, still watching me. You've always been so disciplined, Dante. Never distracted, never compromised. And then suddenly, he snapped his fingers. You cancel 8 meetings in one day. Very unlike you. I had the flu. Did you? Giovanni's smile turned sharp. Or did something else catch your attention? The air felt suffocating. I kept my eyes on my notebook, pen frozen over the page. Marcus, seated to Dante's left, cleared his throat. With respect, Mr. Corsini, we came here to resolve a financial discrepancy, not to discuss Mr. Lucerno's calendar. Of course. Forgive an old man's curiosity. Giovanni spread his hands in mock apology. Then his expression hardened. Prove to me it was DeLuca. You have 1 week. If you can't, you'll have your proof in 3 days, Dante said flatly. And when I deliver it, you'll owe me an apology. If you deliver it, I'll owe you considerably more than that. They shook hands across the table, a gesture that felt more like a threat than an agreement. As we stood to leave, Giovanni caught my wrist. His grip was gentle but unmistakable. Be careful, Miss Rossi. This world has a way of consuming beautiful things. I met his eyes, forcing myself not to flinch. I'm more durable than I look. He released me with a low laugh. I hope so. For your sake. Dante didn't speak during the car ride back. His jaw was locked tight, fury rolling off him in waves. When we pulled up outside my apartment building, he finally turned to me. Are you all right? His voice was strained. Yes. He touched you. Briefly. I should have broken his hand. Dante's eyes were dark with barely controlled violence. I wanted to. The only reason I didn't was because it would have started a war. I finished softly. No. He reached out, fingers hovering near my cheek before dropping. Because you were watching, and I didn't want you to see me like that. The confession broke something open in my chest. Don't. I need you to stay home tomorrow, he said abruptly. Giovanni's suspicions are worse than I thought. If you're seen with me again too soon, I'm not hiding. Elena, you hired me to work, so let me work. I met his eyes. I'm already a target, remember? You said so yourself. Hiding won't change that. His hand found mine in the darkness, fingers threading through mine with desperate gentleness. You should have run when I told you to, he whispered. Probably, I agreed, but I didn't. Why? Because I'm falling for you, I thought. Because even knowing the danger, I can't imagine walking away, but I couldn't say that. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Because I keep my promises, I said instead, and I promise to work for you. He brought my hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to my knuckles that felt like both reverence and goodbye. Stay inside tomorrow, he said again. Please. Then he released me and watched from the car until I was safely inside my building. I didn't stay inside. How could I, when I woke Wednesday morning to find a box outside my apartment door? Inside was a new phone, sleek, expensive, already programmed with 2 numbers. One labeled Dante, one labeled Marcus, emergencies. And beneath the phone, wrapped in tissue paper, a second jade elephant, smaller than the first. The note was in Dante's handwriting. One for your desk, one to carry. Both to remind you that you're not alone in this. I stood in my doorway holding the elephant, chest tight with emotions I couldn't name. Then I got dressed, called the black car, and went to work. Because whatever was happening between us, whatever dangerous, impossible thing was taking root in the spaces between his control and my surrender, I was already in too deep to pretend otherwise. The walls were closing in, but I walked toward them anyway. I arrived at the office to find it in controlled chaos. Men I'd never seen before occupied the conference rooms, voices sharp and urgent. Marcus moved between them like a conductor, orchestrating something I couldn't quite see. My office door was closed. When I opened it, Dante looked up from my desk. He'd been sitting there in the dark, waiting. I told you to stay home, he said quietly. I don't take orders well. I've noticed. He stood, exhaustion carved into every line of his face. We have a problem. What kind? The kind where Giovanni wasn't bluffing. He's put surveillance on both of us. Starting this morning. My stomach dropped. How do you know? Because I put surveillance on him first. 3 cars are watching this building. One is parked outside your apartment. His eyes held mine. You can't go home tonight, Elena. Where am I supposed to go? With me. The words hung between us, heavy with implications. Dante. I have a safe house on the north side, private, secure. No one knows about it except Marcus. He moved closer, voice dropping. I know what I'm asking. I know how it looks. But right now, it's the only place I can guarantee your safety. And your safety? I asked. Where will you be? With you. Heat flooded my face. That's not appropriate. Nothing about this situation is appropriate. His hand came up, cupping my jaw with heartbreaking gentleness. But I will sleep on the couch. I will give you space. I will be nothing but professional. His voice cracked slightly. I just need to know you're safe, please. I should have argued. Should have insisted on a hotel, a friend's place, anywhere but alone with him. Instead, I nodded. Relief flooded his expression. Pack a bag. We leave in an hour. The safe house was not what I expected. I'd imagined something sparse and utilitarian, a hideout, not a home. Instead, Dante brought me to a renovated brownstone tucked between trees, warm light spilling from tall windows. Inside, hardwood floors, leather furniture, shelves full of books in 3 languages. It looked lived in, loved. This is yours? I asked, turning slowly. It was my grandmother's. Dante locked 3 separate deadbolts behind us. She left it to me when she died. I've never brought anyone here before. The confession felt significant, though I wasn't sure why. He showed me the guest room, simple but comfortable, with an attached bathroom and a window overlooking a small garden. Everything you need should be here, he said from the doorway. Towels in the closet. I'll make dinner. You cook? A ghost of a smile touched his mouth. You sound surprised. I am, my grandmother insisted. She said a man who can't feed himself is half dead already. He leaned against the doorframe, and for the first time since I'd met him, he looked almost relaxed. Get settled. I'll call you when it's ready. Dinner was pasta carbonara and red wine, eaten at a small kitchen table while rain drummed against the windows. Dante had changed into dark jeans and a black sweater, sleeves pushed up to reveal those tattooed forearms. Without the armor of his suit, he looked younger, more human, more dangerous to my resolve. Tell me something, he said, refilling my wine glass. Something you've never told anyone else. I hesitated. Why? Because we're hiding from surveillance in my grandmother's house, eating pasta at 10 p.m. Normal rules don't apply tonight. He had a point. I hate jazz music, I admitted. Everyone assumes I love it because I'm sophisticated or whatever, but I think it sounds like instruments arguing. His laugh was sudden and genuine, transforming his entire face. That's the best description I've ever heard. Your turn, I said. Tell me something. His expression sobered. I never wanted this life. The confession landed heavy between us. Then why? Because my father was murdered when I was 17, and my grandfather told me I could either take his place or watch everything he'd built crumble. Dante's fingers tightened around his wine glass. I chose duty. I've been choosing it every day since. Do you regret it? Every time I have to make someone disappear. Every time I negotiate with men like Giovanni. His eyes found mine. Every time I look at you and remember why you should run. I'm not running. I know. His voice dropped to a whisper. That's what keeps me up at night. The air between us thickened, charged with everything we weren't saying. I stood abruptly, clearing plates I hadn't finished. I should go to bed. Early morning tomorrow. Dante caught my wrist as I passed. The same gentle grip from that first day. Elena. I couldn't look at him. If I did, I'd break. Thank you, he said softly, for trusting me tonight. I don't have much choice. You always have a choice. His thumb traced circles on my pulse point, a touch so light it almost wasn't there. You could have refused, called a friend, gone to a hotel, but you came here, with me. Maybe I'm just practical. Maybe. His voice held a smile. Or maybe you're exactly as reckless as I am. He released me before I could respond, and I fled to the guest room with my heart hammering. I couldn't sleep. Every creak of the house settling felt like a threat. Every shadow through the curtains looked like danger. Or maybe I just couldn't stop thinking about Dante. Alone in the living room, close enough to touch but impossibly far away. Around 2 a.m., I gave up and padded to the kitchen for water. I found him awake on the couch, reading by lamplight. He'd showered, hair still damp, feet bare, reading glasses I'd never seen him wear perched on his nose. He looked up when I entered, and something vulnerable crossed his face before he masked it. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "No. Me neither." I sat in the armchair across from him, tucking my legs beneath me. "What are you reading?" He showed me the cover poetry. Dante. His namesake. "My grandmother used to read it to me," he said. In Italian. I didn't understand half of it, but I loved the sound of her voice. He set the book aside. "She'd be disappointed in what I became." "Maybe," I said softly. "Or maybe she'd understand why you made the choices you did." His eyes locked onto mine, raw and unguarded in the lamplight. "I can't stop thinking about you," he said hoarsely. "I've tried. God knows I've tried. But every time I close my eyes, I see you in that conference room wearing red lipstick. And I think, what if I'd looked away? What if I'd let you be invisible? Would that have been better? Safer. For both of us." "That's not what I asked." He stood abruptly, crossing to where I sat and dropping to his knees in front of my chair. His hands framed my face, touch reverent. "No," he whispered. "It wouldn't have been better. Because then I wouldn't know how brave you are, how stubborn, how you look at me like I'm still human despite everything you've learned." My breath caught. "Dante, I can't promise you safety, Elena. I can't promise you normal, but I can promise that as long as I'm breathing, no one will hurt you." His forehead pressed against mine. "Is that enough?" My hands covered his, holding him there. "For now," I whispered. "Yes." We stayed like that until dawn broke, not kissing, not crossing that final line, just breathing the same air. It was the most intimate moment of my life, and the beginning of the end of my resistance. Thursday morning brought news that changed everything. I woke to find Dante already dressed, pacing the kitchen with his phone pressed to his ear. "Don't care what it takes, find him," he snarled, then hung up. His eyes found mine, and I saw fear there. Real fear. "What happened?" I asked. "Angelo De Luca knows where we are." The words punched the air from my lungs. "How?" "Someone talked. Someone always talks." He grabbed his jacket. "We're leaving. Now." "Where?" "Back to the office. It's the safest place right now, cameras, security, witnesses." He pulled me toward the door. "Stay close to me. Don't let go of my hand." The car ride was silent and terrifying. Marcus drove while Dante made call after call, his hand crushing mine. When we finally reached the Apex Tower, he pulled me straight to his office and locked the door. "I need you to listen very carefully," he said, voice controlled but urgent. "Angelo is making a move. I don't know what kind yet, but it's coming soon, and he's going to use you to get to me." "Why me?" "Because I looked at you for 10 seconds. The words erupted from him, raw and furious. "Because I canceled meetings. Because I've been protecting you like you're mine. Because everyone can see what I've been trying to hide, that you matter to me more than you should." The confession hung between us. "How much do I matter?" I whispered. His control shattered. He crossed the room in 3 strides, hands framing my face, and kissed me. It wasn't gentle. Wasn't careful. It was desperation and restraint breaking simultaneously, his mouth claiming mine. With hunger I felt in my bones. I gasped against his lips, and he gentled immediately, pulling back. "I'm sorry," he breathed. "God, Elena, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have." I kissed him back, my hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer, and I felt his shock give way to something molten. His arms came around me, lifting me until I was pressed between him and his desk, and the world narrowed to just this. His mouth on mine, his hands in my hair, the sound of his breathing ragged and desperate. When we finally broke apart, both shaking, his forehead rested against mine. "This is the worst possible timing," he whispered. "I know. You could die because of this. Because of me." "I know that too." His hands tightened in my hair. "Then why aren't you running?" "Because I already told you." I met his eyes, letting him see everything I'd been hiding. "I don't run." He kissed me again. Softer this time, a kiss that tasted like promises and goodbye in equal measure. Then his phone rang. He answered it, eyes never leaving mine. "What?" Marcus's voice came through, tinny and urgent. "Boss, we found the leak. It's Tony." Dante's expression went cold. "Are you certain?" "Security footage from the safe house. He followed you there 2 nights ago. Reported to Angelo within the hour. Where is he now?" "Downstairs, conference room B." "Keep him there." Dante hung up and turned to me. "I have to handle this." "What does handle mean?" His silence was answer enough. Fear spiked through me. "Dante, stay here. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but Marcus or me." He cupped my face one more time, kissing my forehead with heartbreaking tenderness. "I'll come back. I promise." Then he walked out, and I was alone with the ghost of his touch. I waited 30 minutes before I couldn't stand it anymore. The office felt like a cage. My imagination conjured horrors. Dante hurt, arrested, worse. I unlocked the door. The hallway was empty. Voices drifted from somewhere below, muffled, angry. I shouldn't have gone looking, but I did. Conference room B was 2 floors down. I took the stairs, heart hammering. The door was closed but not locked. Through the small window, I saw Dante standing over a man on his knees. Tony, I assumed. Blood dripped from Tony's nose. 2 other men flanked him. "Gave you everything," Dante was saying, voice cold and flat. "A job, loyalty, trust. And you sold me out for what? 50,000? 100? Angelo said he'd kill my sister." Tony choked out. "I didn't have a choice." "There's always a choice." Dante pulled a gun from his jacket. I must have made a sound, a gasp, a whimper, because his head snapped toward the door. Our eyes met through the glass. I saw the exact moment he realized I was there. Saw the fury and shame cross his face simultaneously. "Get her out of here," he ordered one of the men. Too late. The gun fired. The sound was deafening even through the door. Tony crumpled. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't process what I'd just witnessed. Someone grabbed my arm. Marcus, pulling me away from the door, down the hall, back to Dante's office. "You shouldn't have seen that," he said quietly. I sank into a chair, shaking. "He killed him?" "Yes. In cold blood. Tony betrayed us. Put you in danger. There's no trial in this world, Elena. Only consequences. I'm going to be sick." Marcus handed me a trash can. I dry heaved into it, bile burning my throat. This was Dante's world. Violence and retribution. Blood on expensive floors, and I'd walked into it wearing red lipstick. Dante found me an hour later, still curled in the chair. He'd cleaned up, changed his shirt, washed his hands, but I could still smell gunpowder. "Elena, don't." My voice was hollow. "Don't apologize. Don't explain." He knelt in front of me, not touching. "I never wanted you to see that part of me, but it is part of you." "Yes, you killed a man today." "I did." I finally met his eyes. "Do you regret it?" "Only that you witnessed it." The honesty was brutal. "I should leave," I whispered. "I should quit and disappear and forget I ever met you." "Yes," he agreed quietly. "You should, but I can't." His hands found mine, and I saw they were shaking. "Why?" he asked hoarsely. "Because despite the violence, despite the danger, despite everything I just saw," my voice cracked, "I still look at you and see the man who gives me jade elephants, who cooks carbonara, who reads poetry by lamplight." I squeezed his hands. "I see both of you, Dante, and I don't know how to walk away from either." Something broke in his expression, relief and agony tangled together. "You should be terrified of me," he whispered. "I am. But I'm more terrified of losing you." He pulled me against him. Arms tight around me, face buried in my hair. "I don't deserve you," he said into my neck. "But God help me. I'm not strong enough to let you go." We stayed like that, broken and holding on while the city darkened outside. And somewhere in that embrace, I accepted the truth. I was in love with a killer, and nothing would ever be simple again. 3 days passed in strange suspension. Dante kept me close, always within reach, always watching. We worked side by side in his office, the air between us charged with everything unspoken. He didn't kiss me again, but I felt the weight of his desire in every glance, every accidental touch, every moment his control threatened to snap. Sunday night, he brought me back to the safe house. "Angelo's made his move," Dante explained as he locked us inside. He's meeting with the other families tomorrow, trying to turn them against me. Will it work? Not if I can present evidence that he framed me to Giovanni first. He pulled me into the kitchen, where files covered every surface. I need your help. We worked through the night, cross-referencing bank records, tracing digital footprints, building a case that would save his empire. At 3 a.m., delirious with exhaustion, I found it. Dante, my voice shook. Look at this. A single transaction buried in hundreds. $3 million transferred from the Corsini account to a shell company owned by Angelo's cousin. That's it, Dante breathed. That's the proof. He grabbed my face and kissed me hard, a kiss of triumph and relief, and something deeper. When we broke apart, he was smiling. Actually smiling. You just saved my life, he said. We're even then. His expression softened. Not even close. We sent the evidence to Giovanni at dawn. His response came within the hour. Consider your debt paid. And Lucerno, keep better control of your enemies next time. Dante collapsed onto the couch, tension draining from his shoulders for the first time in a week. It's over, he said, disbelieving. What happens to Angelo? Giovanni will handle him, quietly. Dante's eyes found mine. You're safe now, Elena. Are you? As safe as I ever am. I sat beside him, close enough to feel his warmth. What happens now? Now, he reached out, tucking hair behind my ear, that gesture that was becoming familiar. Now I should let you go back to your normal life. Let you quit. Find you a reference for a safer job. Is that what you want? What I want, he said roughly, is to keep you here, with me, in every possible way. But Elena, you saw what I did. You know what I am. I know you're also the man who protected me, who trusted me, who kisses me like I'm something precious. His hand slid to cup my jaw. You are precious. Then stop trying to push me away. I'm trying to do the right thing. The right thing, I interrupted, is letting me make my own choice. And I choose this. You, whatever that means. His control finally, completely shattered. Elena, he breathed. And then he was kissing me deep and slow and devastating. His hands in my hair, my body pulled against his. I melted into him, giving him everything I'd been holding back. His mouth moved to my jaw, my neck, each kiss a brand. Tell me to stop, he whispered against my skin. No, tell me you don't want this. I can't. He pulled back, eyes searching mine. Are you sure? Because if we cross this line, I'm sure. My voice shook, but not with fear. I've been sure since you gave me the first elephant. Something like wonder crossed his face. Then he stood, lifting me with him, and carried me to his bedroom. Dante's room was sparse, dark walls, darker furniture, a bed that dominated the space. He set me down gently, hands framing my face like I might break. I've never done this, I whispered. He went still. Never? I shook my head, heat flooding my face. His expression transformed desire, mixing with something tender and protective. Then we go slow. And you tell me if anything feels wrong. Okay. He kissed me again, soft and patient, hands sliding down to my waist. We don't have to do anything tonight. Just this. Just kissing is enough. What if I want more? Then we'll take more. But only what you're ready for. His gentleness undid me completely. I reached for the hem of his shirt, hands trembling. He helped me pull it over his head, revealing the full map of tattoos I'd only glimpsed before, Italian script across his ribs, a saint on his shoulder, symbols I didn't recognize. You're beautiful, I whispered. He laughed quietly. That's my line. His hands found the buttons of my blouse, undoing them one by one, with infinite patience. When the fabric slipped away, his breath caught. Elena. My name was a prayer. You're sure? Instead of answering, I kissed him. We fell onto the bed in a tangle of limbs and whispered reassurances. His hands explored with reverent slowness, mapping every inch of newly exposed skin. When he hesitated at my last layer of clothing, I nodded. I trust you, I said simply. Those 3 words broke something open in him. What followed was slow and careful and overwhelming, his body covering mine, his voice murmuring endearments in Italian, his hands guiding me through every new sensation. He watched my face the entire time, reading my reactions. adjusting to what made me gasp or freeze or arch into him. "Okay?" he kept asking. "Still okay?" "Yes," I kept answering. "Yes." And when the intensity peaked and I shattered beneath him, he caught my cry with his mouth and held me through the aftershocks like I was made of glass. After, wrapped in sheets in his arms, I felt tears slip down my face. "Did I hurt you?" Dante asked immediately, panic in his voice. "No." I pressed closer. "It's just I didn't know it could be like that." "Like what?" "Like you were worshipping me." His arms tightened. Because I was. We lay in comfortable silence, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on my skin. "I love you," he said quietly. "I know it's too soon. I know it's foolish. But I need you to know this wasn't just physical for me. It's never been just physical." My heart cracked open. "I love you too." He kissed my forehead, my eyelids, the tip of my nose. "Then stay with me. Not just tonight. Really stay. As your assistant, as mine, in every way that matters." I tilted my face up to his. Yes, relief and joy flooded his expression, transforming him into someone young and hopeful. We fell asleep tangled together, safe in the eye of the storm, not knowing the violence was far from over. The attack came at dawn. I woke to the sound of glass shattering downstairs and Dante throwing me to the floor. "Stay down," he ordered, already moving. He pulled a gun from his nightstand, another reminder of his world, and moved to the door. "What's happening?" I whispered. "Angelo." He didn't wait for Giovanni's judgment. Dante's voice was cold and controlled. The tender lover from hours ago vanished beneath the Mafia boss. "Marcus knew this was possible. There's a safe room in the basement. Can you get there alone?" "I don't know where." More glass breaking. Footsteps on the stairs. "No time." Dante shoved his dresser aside, revealing a hidden panel. "In here, now." "What about you?" "I'll handle this." He pushed me toward the opening. "Don't come out until I come for you. No matter what you hear." "Dante." He kissed me hard and fast. "I love you. Remember that." Then he shut me in darkness. The space was narrow and suffocating, some kind of crawl space between walls. I heard everything. Voices shouting in Italian, Dante's calm responses. Then gunfire. I pressed my hands over my mouth to keep from screaming. More gunfire. Crashes. A sound that might have been bodies hitting the floor. Then silence. Terrible, endless silence. I don't know how long I waited in that darkness. Hours, minutes. Time had no meaning. When the panel finally opened, I nearly collapsed with relief. Dante stood there, blood splattered across his chest and face. Not his blood, I could tell by how he moved, steady and unhurt. "It's over," he said quietly. "You can come out." I crawled out on shaking legs. "Are you hurt?" "No." "The others?" "Dead. All 4 of them." He said it without emotion. "Marcus is handling cleanup. We need to leave before police arrive." He pulled me through the house, past bodies I tried not to look at, out to a car already running in the driveway. We drove in silence, my hand crushed in his. Finally, I asked, "Did you kill them all?" "Yes. Because of me." He pulled over abruptly, turning to face me. "No. Because Angelo declared war. Because he sent men to murder me in my own home. You didn't cause this, Elena. You're just caught in it." "I don't know if I can do this," I whispered. Live with the violence. Always waiting for the next attack. Pain flickered across his face. "I know. And I'll understand if you can't. But you can't leave this life. No. It would be seen as weakness. I'd be dead within a month." His hand cupped my face. "I'm trapped in this world, Elena. But you don't have to be." Tears spilled over. "I don't want to lose you. And I don't want to get you killed." He kissed my forehead. "So what do we do?" I didn't have an answer. Dante took me to a hotel neutral ground, he called it. Somewhere to think without his world pressing in. Marcus met us in the lobby, looking exhausted. "Boss," he said quietly. "Giovanni wants to meet. He's concerned about the attack. Tell him I'll be there tomorrow. He wants to meet tonight, and he wants to see Elena." My stomach dropped. "Why?" "Because Angelo's dead men were found in your safe house. He wants to verify you're both alive and assess the damage." Marcus's eyes were sympathetic. "It's not optional." Dante's jaw tightened. Fine. But she doesn't leave my sight. We met Giovanni at midnight in the same private room at the Bellamy. This time, his expression held something almost like respect. Dante, Miss Rossi. He gestured to seats. I'm glad to see you both breathing. No thanks to Angelo, Dante said coldly. Angelo was a fool, impatient and reckless. Giovanni sipped his wine. His cousin has already disavowed him. The other families agree he broke protocol by attacking you in a safe house. His death will not be avenged. Good. Giovanni's eyes shifted to me. And you, Miss Rossi. You've had quite an introduction to our world. Yes, I said quietly. Will you stay in it? The question caught me off guard. I don't know, I admitted. Honest. I appreciate that. Giovanni leaned back. Let me give you some advice, child. This life, our life, it doesn't have room for innocence. Eventually it consumes everything soft. Everyone you love becomes a target. Every choice carries the weight of violence. I know that now. Do you? His gaze was piercing. Or do you just know it intellectually? Wait until someone you love dies because of who you're connected to. Wait until you have to make the choice between saving yourself and saving him. Then tell me if you can handle it. Dante's hand found mine under the table, squeezing hard. With respect, Giovanni, I said carefully. I've already made my choice. I'm still here. For now. Giovanni stood. But Dante, if you truly love her, you'll consider letting her go, before this world destroys her. We left in heavy silence. Back at the hotel, Dante paced while I sat on the bed. He's right, Dante said finally. Giovanni's right. I should let you go. Stop deciding what's best for me. Someone has to. He turned to face me, anguish written across his features. Because you're not thinking clearly. You're in love and brave and foolish, and you're going to get yourself killed staying with me. Then let me be foolish. Elena, you said you loved me, I interrupted. Was that true? You know it was. Then trust me to make my own choices, even the dangerous ones. I stood, crossing to him. I know what I'm choosing, Dante. I went into this with open eyes, and I'm staying with open eyes. His hands came up to frame my face, trembling. I can't lose you. Then don't let me go. He kissed me like a drowning man, desperate and grateful and terrified all at once. I'll protect you, he swore against my mouth. With everything I have. You'll never face this world alone. I know. And if it gets too much, if you change your mind, I'll tell you. I pulled back to meet his eyes. But Dante, I'm not going anywhere. The relief in his expression was almost painful to witness. We made love again that night, slower, sadder, more desperate, clinging to each other like the violence might return at any moment. Because in his world, it always did. The next 3 months were the strangest of my life. I moved into Dante's penthouse, a fortress disguised as luxury. Armed guards, bulletproof windows, an entire life built around survival. I went back to work, but everything had changed. The other employees watched me differently now. They knew I belonged to Dante in ways that had nothing to do with employment. Some looked at me with pity, others with envy, most with fear. Claire stopped returning my calls after I tried to explain why I couldn't meet for drinks anymore. My parents didn't understand when I told them I was seeing someone, but couldn't bring him home for dinner. I lost pieces of my old life bit by bit, but I gained something too. Mornings waking up in Dante's arms, late nights reading together in comfortable silence. The way he looked at me like I was the only good thing in his dark world. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. On a Tuesday in October, everything shifted again. Marcus appeared in Dante's office, face grim. Boss, we have a problem. Dante looked up from the contract we'd been reviewing. What kind? The kind that involves Elena's family. My blood turned cold. What happened? Nothing yet. But someone's been asking questions in your hometown. About your parents, their routines, where they work. Dante was on his feet instantly. Who? We don't know yet. But it has to be connected to you. The guilt on Dante's face was devastating to witness. Get them protection, he ordered. Immediately. I want a team on them 24/7. Already done. But boss, they're going to have questions. Then we tell them the truth. My stomach dropped. Dante, they deserve to know. He turned to me, eyes haunted. This is exactly what Giovanni warned about. Your family is in danger because of me, because I was selfish enough to keep you. This isn't your fault. It's entirely my fault." He grabbed his jacket. "We're going to see them. Now. And we're telling them everything." The drive to my parents' house in Queens felt like a funeral procession. Dante held my hand the entire way, silent and tense. When we arrived, my mother opened the door with a confused smile. "Elena, we didn't know you were coming." She stopped when she saw Dante, saw the cars flanking ours, saw the armed men taking positions around the house. "Mom," I said quietly, "we need to talk." I told them everything. The job, the lipstick, the way Dante had looked at me, the violence, the death, the love, all of it. My father listened in stony silence. My mother cried. When I finished, my father turned to Dante. "You put our daughter in danger," he said flatly. "Yes, sir. You've brought violence to our doorstep." "Yes. And you expect us to just accept this?" Dante met his eyes steadily. "No, sir. I expect you to hate me, but I need you to let me protect you anyway." "Why should we trust you?" "Because I love your daughter more than my own life." Dante's voice was raw with honesty. "And I will burn down anyone who tries to hurt her or you." "That's not a promise, it's a fact." My father studied him for a long moment. "Elena," he said finally, not looking away from Dante, "is this what you want? This life?" "It's not about wanting anymore, Papa. It's about loving, and I do." I moved to stand beside Dante. "I love him. Despite everything, maybe because of everything, I love him." My mother made a small, broken sound. "Then we don't have a choice," my father said quietly. "We'll accept his protection. But Dante, if anything happens to her, there's no hiding place in this world that will keep you safe from me." "Understood." We left them with guards posted and promises to visit weekly. In the car, I finally broke down. Dante held me while I sobbed, his own tears falling silent into my hair. "I'm sorry," he kept whispering. "I'm so sorry." "I know," I said. "But I'd choose you again anyway." That night, lying in bed, Dante asked the question I'd been dreading. "Do you regret it?" "Any of it." I thought about my answer carefully. "I regret the fear, the violence, the way my family looked at me today." I rolled to face him. "But I don't regret you. I've never regretted you." His hand came up to cup my face. "You should. Probably. But I'm stubborn." A ghost of a smile touched his mouth. "I've noticed." We lay in silence for a while before he spoke again. "Marry me." I went still. "What?" "Marry me. Not now, not until you're sure, until your family accepts it, until the current threats are neutralized, but someday." His eyes held mine. "Marry me, and let me spend the rest of my life proving you made the right choice." My heart felt too large for my chest. "That's the worst proposal I've ever heard. It's the only one I have. It's also conditional. When threats are neutralized? In your world, is that ever?" His expression faltered. "Elena." "Yes," I interrupted. "What?" "Yes, I'll marry you. Not someday. Not when it's safe." I pressed my hand over his heart. "Soon. Because waiting for perfect conditions in your world means waiting forever. And I'd rather have a dangerous life with you than a safe one without you." He kissed me like I'd just given him salvation. "You're going to be the death of me," he whispered. "Or the life of you," I countered. We made love with new urgency that night, a promise sealed in touch and breath and whispered vows. Tomorrow would bring new dangers. But tonight, we chose each other. Again. The wedding happened 6 weeks later. Not the big Italian affair Dante's family expected. Not the church wedding my parents dreamed of. Just us, Marcus, my parents, and a judge in Dante's grandmother's house. I wore a simple white dress. Dante wore a charcoal suit. I carried jade elephants instead of a bouquet. My father cried. My mother held my hand too tight. Marcus smiled for the first time since I'd known him. And when Dante kissed me as his wife, I tasted hope and danger in equal measure. The threat against my parents dissipated after our wedding. Turns out it had been a rival testing Dante's weaknesses. They found only strength. Dante's response was swift and brutal. I didn't ask for details. Some things I'd learned not to know. Life settled into a new rhythm. I still worked as his assistant, but now our colleagues averted their eyes when he touched me in the hallways. Now I attended family meetings as his wife, learning the intricate politics of his world. Some families welcomed me. Others saw me as a weakness to exploit. I learned to navigate both with the same stubborn grace that had made me wear red lipstick in the first place. 3 months after the wedding, I found out I was pregnant. I told Dante in his office, door locked, both of us shaking. "A baby," he whispered, hand splaying across my still flat stomach. "Elena, I know. It's dangerous. It's a target. It's a miracle." His eyes were wet. "A piece of you and me that exists despite everything." He kissed me softly. "We'll protect them. With everything we have. Them, him, her. I don't care." He laughed shakily. "As long as they have your eyes. And your stubbornness. God help us." We held each other while the city glittered below, building a future from violence and love. My daughter was born on a Tuesday morning in May. Dark hair, gray eyes, lungs that could wake the dead. We named her Grace, after Dante's grandmother. He held her with shaking hands. This man who'd killed and commanded and controlled. Held her like she was made of light. "She'll never see what I've done," he swore quietly. "Never know the blood. I'll build her a clean future." "We'll build it," I corrected. He looked up, eyes fierce with love. Together, always. Grace's first year passed in exhausted, joyful chaos. Midnight feedings, lullabies in Italian. Dante reading poetry to a baby who couldn't understand a word but fell asleep to the sound of his voice anyway. My parents visited weekly. The guards at the door now familiar enough to be almost invisible. Claire reached out, tentatively rebuilding our friendship with coffee dates and careful questions. Life wasn't normal. Would never be normal. But it was ours. On Grace's first birthday, we threw a party at the safe house. My family, Dante's inner circle, guards disguised as guests, cameras hidden in every corner. We sang Happy Birthday to a baby who destroyed her cake with single-minded joy. Later, after everyone left and Grace slept, Dante found me in the kitchen. "You're crying," he said softly. Happy tears. He wrapped his arms around me from behind, chin resting on my shoulder. "Any regrets yet?" I thought about the question. About the violence I'd witnessed. The fear I'd survived. The life I'd chosen. "Only one," I said finally. His body tensed. "What?" "That I can't go back and tell 24-year-old me wearing red lipstick what was coming." I turned in his arms. I'd warn her that she was about to fall in love with a dangerous man. That her life would never be simple again. And then I'd tell her to do it anyway. Because every terrifying, beautiful moment led to this. I gestured around us, the home we'd built. The baby sleeping upstairs. The life we'd fought for. "Led to you." He kissed me with everything, gratitude and love and the weight of all we'd survived. "I love you," he whispered against my mouth. "My brave, stubborn, perfect wife. I love you too. My dangerous, protective, impossible husband." We stood there in the kitchen of his grandmother's house, holding each other while danger lurked somewhere in the darkness beyond our walls. Because that's what our love was. A bright flame burning in the shadow of violence. Not perfect. Not safe. But ours. Always ours. Epilogue. 2 years later, the Jade Elephant collection had grown to 17. They lined the shelves in Grace's nursery, some from Dante, some from visitors, all symbols of the same thing. Protection. I rocked our daughter in the early morning light, her dark hair curling against my chest. She had Dante's eyes, my stubbornness, and an absolute conviction that the world revolved around her. She wasn't wrong. "Mama," she mumbled, half asleep. "Daddy?" "He's working, sweetheart." Working meant handling something dangerous. I'd learned not to ask unless he volunteered information. The door opened quietly. Dante slipped in, still wearing yesterday's clothes. Grace perked up immediately. "Daddy." He crossed to us, kissing her forehead, then mine. "Everything's handled." "Good." He looked exhausted. There was blood on his cuff he hadn't noticed. "You need sleep," I said quietly. "I need to see my girls first." We sat together in the early morning light, Dante holding Grace, me tucked against his side. "Do you ever wonder what life would be like if you hadn't worn that lipstick?" he asked quietly. "Never." "Not even a little?" I looked at our daughter, then at him. At the life we'd built from that one moment of fate. Not even a little, I confirmed. Do you ever regret staring? Only that it took 10 full seconds. His arm tightened around me. Should have been 5. I laughed softly. Efficient. Inevitable. He kissed my temple. From the moment you walked in that room, this was always how it would end. With a baby and jade elephants and blood on your sleeve? With you. His voice was rough with emotion. However that looked, as long as it was with you. Grace yawned, settling between us like a tiny, perfect bridge between his darkness and my light. And I knew Giovanni had been wrong. This life hadn't consumed my innocence. It had transformed it into something stronger. A woman who loved fiercely, chose courageously, and built beauty in the shadows. I wore red lipstick to work once. A mafia boss stared for 10 seconds. And I fell into a love story written in violence and jade elephants, and the stubborn belief that some flames burn brighter in the dark. Our story wasn't perfect, but it was real, and that was enough.